Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is April 16th, 2025. And yes, the mainstream media just keeps goose-stepping down the highway with their subterfuge, propaganda, their creations. Guess what, folks?
You won't be trusted anymore.
That's right. The mainstream networks have lost the attention of the overwhelming majority of the American people, and that's a good thing. Anyway, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. And we got a lot of stuff to get to, but right off the bat, I want to tell you that this program is brought to you in part by Blackout Coffee. Now, I don't know about you, but coffee is one of those things. I have to have coffee in the morning, and I want to have a decent cup. You know, you could buy stuff off the shelves in the grocery store, and they all taste kind of the same. But if you would like, something that's actually got some grit, some teeth to it, a real cup of coffee, check out Blackout Coffee. They've got light roast, medium roast, dark roast, and a lot of the different flavors, et cetera, each one of them is supporting some patriotic group. Second Amendment groups, veterans, first responders, law officers, law enforcement officers. And if you want to support patriots, then support Blackout Coffee. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and check out the sponsors page. Get yourself some Blackout Coffee. You'll be glad you did. It's a good cup of coffee, and you'll be supporting a good cause. All right, that said, a lot to get to today. But right off the bat, I just want to lay down some ground rules here. I want to tell you that, and I don't mean this as an insult, not at all. But I just want to let you know that when it comes to world affairs and what's going on in this insane push for a new world order and globalism, et cetera, just keep in mind that it doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think. What matters is what they think. All right? Now, who's the quote-unquote they? We always talk about they. Oh, they are this, they are this. Well, I think we all know. We're talking about the globalists. We're talking about the movers and shakers, the people who have been pulling strings, not just for years, not just for decades, but indeed for centuries. So it would behoove us to examine the background of some of these individuals. Now, again, I want to lay down some common sense and groundwork here, okay? If you have let's say that there's a woman who is big-boned, stocky, borderline obese, and she marries a guy who is also big-boned, stocky, borderline obese. Well, chances are pretty darn good that when they get together and have children, those children are probably going to be big-boned, stocky, borderline obese children. Can we agree with that? Yeah, I think it's reasonable to assume that, genetics and all that. Well, likewise, if you are, let's say you have poodles, and you're a poodle breeder, and you've got neurotic, high-strung, yippy little poodle dogs, okay? And you are going to mate them with other high-strung, neurotic, yippy, overactive poodle dogs. You're going to have neurotic, high-strung, yippy little poodle puppies. Does that make sense? Sure it does. Okay. Now, let's take it a step further. Let's say that there is a man who is, let's say he's a sociopathic narcissist. Let's say he is insensitive. Let's say he is, let's say he is sadistic. He's got a holier-than-thou attitude, and let's say he's just downright evil. All right? And if this guy marries into a family, and the woman also is a sociopathic narcissist, insensitive, borderline evil, maybe even, what's the word I'm looking for? Sadistic. Yeah, okay. So the point is if you have those two different mentalities, those two type of attitudes, and they intermarry, chances are the kids are going to have those same attributes. They're going to be sadistic, evil, sociopathic, narcissistic, insensitive individuals. Does that make sense? Sure it does. Well, let's compound the problem by saying that, when that child is brought into the world and he's in a very sheltered environment and all of those attributes are magnified, okay, you're going to end up with some pretty evil people. I would think that that's common sense. Wouldn't you think that? I think so. So with that in mind, okay, let's take a look at what's been going on over there in Israel. All right. Now, how did this whole thing get started? Let's take it back. I mean, we're going to be talking about Zionism here. Theodor Herzl established Zionism, and I believe it was 1894. And it's the belief that you should have one particular area for one particular group of people. And in this case, they were talking about a Zionist state of Israel. All right? So this was a concept that came about in the late 1800s, and it moved into the early 1900s. And there's this family called the Rothschilds, and you all know the Rothschilds, yeah? And you do a little bit of research into the Rothschilds, and you find that they've been into some pretty dark stuff. I mean, there are photographs on the internet of some of the parties that they have, and some of the masks that they wear, and we're talking horns and satanic stuff. Okay, this is the Rothschild family. If you don't believe me, we'll do a little search. Okay, go into your search bar and type in Rothschilds, or put out Jacob Rothschild more specifically, and put the name Marina Abramovic. Now, Marina Abramovic, for those of you who don't know, she is a self-professed, world-recognized high satanic priestess. She does spirit cooking, where they make food that looks like people, and they cut it up and eat it. And she also does some very bizarre and disturbing artwork involving children and blood and all kinds of, goat horns, all kinds of very dark stuff. She is, tied into some real evil stuff. Now, if you do a search, Jacob Rothschild, Marina Abramovic, and then click on images, you will be able to find a photograph of Marina Abramovic and Jacob Rothschild posing in front of a big portrait of Satan releasing his legions. Now, I'm not making this stuff up. Don't get mad at the messenger. I'm just sharing with you some cold, hard, uncomfortable facts. So, if we have the Rothschilds, and they are kind of evil, I would have to say so, and yet that was the driving force behind the creation of the state of Israel. Now, getting back to the Rothschild family, okay, here's Jacob Rothschild basically explaining exactly what I was just talking about. When you inbreed certain attributes into a family, you're going to magnify those attributes. And here's Jacob Rothschild basically admitting that. Listen up.
Baron James, who was head of the Paris branch and the youngest of the 5 sons of Mariam Rothschild, gave an astonishingly uninhibited description of the 19th century Rothschild policy of keeping it in the family. I'll quote to you from what he wrote.
Listen to this.
In our family, we've always tried to keep love in the family. In this sense, it was more or less understood since childhood that children would never think of marrying outside the family, so that our fortune would never leave it. You couldn't write that today.
Yeah, you couldn't write that today. Well, there you go. He's admitting, basically, and there are several documentaries out there, you can find them if you search for them, the Rothschild family has been interbreeding for generations. Now, those attributes that I was talking to you about just a couple minutes ago, I would think that with each generation, those attributes would be magnified. Just like you have an erotic poodle puppy, and you made it with another neurotic poodle puppy, you're going to have super hyper poodle puppies, okay? Same thing could be said about those attributes within this family. All right, so we've established now that the Rothschild family definitely has ties to Satanism, all right, Luciferianism. That's what they believe. And again, I started off this program, I said it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what I believe. What matters is what they believe. And they're the ones who are pulling the strings, calling the shots, instituting policy, etc., etc. So with this in mind, we had Theodor Herzl in the late 1800s establishing Zionism, okay? So Zionism's, and how it relates to the Jews, and I'm not saying all the Jews don't, okay, I'm not anti-Semitic, no, I'm not going to even go there. But the bottom line here is that when you've got these attributes and the attitude, and they wanted to establish a Zionist state. Now, here's there was a documentary where they were talking to Jacob Rothschild about the Balfour Declaration, which came about in 1917. Here is the audio portion. This was a documentary film. Here's the audio from it.
In modern Jewish history, and it begins with 3 words: Dear Lord Rothschild.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet.
Why was it that this letter was sent by the Foreign Secretary to your great-uncle Walter?
It's an interesting question because it was primarily a movement from Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe.
But they didn't clarify who was in charge of that movement. And in addition, it was, after all, in Great Britain. So they felt that the Rothschild family should be the one to whom it was addressed.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Notice that he referred to Eastern Europe. That's where it originated from. And it continued.
And Walter was Lord Rothschild, and he was a Zionist. And those really are the background reasons.
So Walter received the Balfour Declaration, and I have a copy here. And I wonder if I could possibly ask you to read it for us.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm going to put on my spectacles to make sure I read it accurately. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours, Arthur Balfour.
Okay, so in that he's establishing that they were going to establish a Jewish Zionist state. Now, who was doing this? The Rothschilds and the royal family. Okay, and that had nothing to do with Palestine. Palestinians been there for generations and generations and generations, and they just decided, well, we're going to take Palestine and we're going to turn it into a Zionist state of Israel. Now, I don't know how the Palestinians, yes, I do know how the Palestinians feel about it. But the bottom line here is that that was the origination of this state of Israel. Now, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and the issue about whether or not Israel is a country, or what's the difference between a country and a nation, all right? Well, if you're a Red Sox fan, I'm sure you've heard about Red Sox Nation. Yeah, I mean, I'm over here in Montana, and I like to follow the Boston Red Sox, and I guess that makes me part of the Red Sox Nation. So the nation, that indicates that you're talking about a certain group of people. It's not necessarily a country with borders, because in human history, borders change all the time. You go back, hundreds of years, go back thousands of years, you see countries that come into being and then they get destroyed, and borders and countries change all the time. But a people, okay, the nation of Israel is a people. It always was. And again, you go back to the Bible and, Jacob was talking with God. God says, from now on, your name will be Israel. And Jacob had 12 sons, hence the 12 tribes of Israel. And that was the nation of Israel, which is the people. Anyway, I digress. I got sidetracked. So the point is, we're talking about Zionism. All right. Now, Abby Martin, who is a influencer, she made this little audio, and I want to share it with you. This is, I got to say maybe 6 or 7, maybe 8 months ago. It's worth a listen. Here's Abby Martin. Come on, Abby. Where are you?
Yes, there really is such a diminishing left in Israel. I mean, just look at the genocidal onslaught. Look at the polling. Less than 2% thought that Israel was using too much firepower in Gaza after they obliterated and decimated the entire Gaza Strip. Less than 2%. You go back to the 2014 onslaught in Gaza where 2,500 Palestinians were killed, 500 children. 95% of Israelis supported that. The open fire policy at this fortified border fence, overwhelming majority, over 90% of Israelis support that. There were some Israeli human rights advocates that tried to take that policy to the Knesset, and it was overwhelmingly, unanimously upheld that no, we can shoot to kill unarmed people who are just straying too close to this border fence that essentially just prevents them from getting back to their ancestral lands. That's how fascist Israeli society is. I hate when I see politicians just trying to denounce Netanyahu as some sort of aberration from Israeli society. No, this is the norm. This is the norm. Look at every single cabinet minister. Every single member of the Knesset is out there spewing genocide, advocating mass murder. It is sick. It is sick. And I will never forgive journalists who are towing this line and pretending like this is some sort of aberration of the Likudniks and Netanyahu's. No, this is Israel. This is Israel. This is a settler colonial state founded upon ethnic cleansing. And it only exists because of the continuous ethnic cleansing of the indigenous population. And you have to have indoctrination from cradle to grave. And you have to espouse the most horrific dehumanizing language possible to paint those people as barbaric human animals, to condone and tolerate those policies against these people for 75 plus years. So that's Israeli society. I saw it firsthand. And people want to paint those interviews that I did. Oh, I'm trying to do a gotcha. Oh, I'm trying to pick the most crazy sounding people. No, that's Israeli society. The left is non-existent, Ash.
Yeah, and I remember seeing a video last summer when the bombing of Gaza was going on. A lot of Israelis, they took their lawn chairs and went and sat themselves down on the beach and looked to the south where they could see those bombs going off, and they were cheering and laughing and thinking this is so great. Now, not all Israelis are like that. Not all of them. But there's a good portion of them, like Abby Martin was just saying, they've been brought up to think this way. They have been indoctrinated since they were children to believe that the Palestinians are less than human. I saw a video that was taken inside of a classroom in an Israeli school, and these kids were probably 7, 8 years old-ish. And the rabbis, what do you do when you see a Palestinian? And they say, well, you spit at them. Yeah, they're less than human. This is the indoctrination that many of the Israelis have been subjected to. And again, I see them as victims. Victims of being lied to. And anyway, I wanted to particularly share that quote from Abby Martin. Again, that came from last summer. However, she just posted this, and this is even a little bit stronger. So here's Abby Martin again.
People in Gaza need to know that it's the beginning of the end of the Zionist state.
Okay.
The Zionist state will not survive. To stay in the same place, they have to kill and kill and kill. That's the only thing they know how to do. And that's not a surviving strategy. And that's not a winning PR strategy for the world. And the more people who wake up, and certainly tens of millions of more people have woken up to the truth, to the barbaric nature of what Zionism is and what Israel really represents, there's no going back for them. So for decades, pro-Palestine advocates have been on the defense to explain why defense of Palestine, why advocacy for Palestinian liberation is not anti-Semitic, why criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic. That is no longer the case. Zionists are on the defense now, explaining why they support apartheid and genocide. They're no longer going to be allowed in the same spaces as progressives. The whole idea of progressive except for Palestine is no longer real. You are no longer going to be seen as progressive or liberal if you are Zionist. It is a racist, colonial, genocidal ideology, and it has been exposed. And at this point, anyone with a shred of humanity is on the side of Palestinians. And that's the hope we have to hang our hats on. That's the hope that we have to keep striving for. And that's what gives me optimism, because I see the truth. I see the world waking up. I see the mass movements in the streets. Apartheid can't stand.
Okay, I'm going to pause that for a second. I want to point out that if you're trying to support the Palestinians, that does not mean that you support terrorism. That is the BS line that's being used by the pro-Israeli crowd. It's that same thing, no matter if you disagree with them, oh, you're an anti-Semite. Okay, they use that all the time to deflect. The bottom line here is that we're talking about genocide. We're talking about an annihilation, an extermination of a group of people who were there in the first place and had their land taken from them and their families murdered. Now, of course, these people are going to be pissed off. Of course, they're going to say, no, I won't let you do that. And they will fight with everything that they have to defend their families. And meanwhile, we're seeing videos of children that are absolutely shredded. I mean, little kids, hundreds and hundreds of them. And the kids are being targeted. You know, and now, again, I want to go back to the idea that the Rothschilds have a certain mentality, shall we say, just as like we were talking about a couple minutes ago. They're not good people. They believe in Satan or Lucifer. They engage in sacrifices, rituals, spirit cooking. This is what they do. And if you think this is a conspiracy theory, raise your hand up high and then slap yourself with it. This is very real, folks. And this is the big secret that they don't want you to know. And of course, they promote Zionism, you know, I mean, and I'll get to a couple of clips with that. Let's finish with Abby Martin here. Here we go.
Can't justify apartheid.
Yeah.
And we can't justify genocide. And those crimes need to be held accountable and they need to be stopped. And Israel Israel has put itself on the defense for its whole existence. I mean, that's why it's survived and thrived, because it's inverted reality. It's flipped reality on its head, and it's invested tens of billions of dollars into controlling the narrative in the West. But we see Palestinians dictating their own reality for the first time with social media. And those lies don't hold anymore because we see the truth. Just unfettered truth. You just open your phones and you see with your own eyes.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's what I was just saying. You know, these posts, I mean, thank God for the internet and thank God for the fact that people can take videos with their phones now. And those videos are getting all over the world and people are seeing with their own eyes the atrocities that the Israeli government is imposing upon these innocent men, women, and children. Now, I am not pro-terrorist. Okay, not at all, not pro-Hamas. In fact, let me see, there's an article here, where did it go? I had it, oh, here it is, yeah. Okay, this was an article that was published in 2009 by Andrew Higgins, and it was from the Mashav Tekuma in Israel. Title, How Israel Helped to Spawn Hamas. Now, I played the audio a couple days ago of Ron Paul on the congressional floor back in 2008, I think it was, and he was explaining how Israel was created, how Hamas was created by Israel. They wanted to have Hamas go up against Hezbollah. So anyway, they created Hamas, okay? Now I read from the article, surveying the wreckage of a neighbor's bungalow hit by a Palestinian rocket, retired Israeli official Avner Cohen traces the missile's trajectory back to an enormous, stupid mistake made 30 years ago. Quote, Hamas, to my great regret, is Israel's creation, says Mr. Cohen, a Tunisian-born Jew who worked in Gaza for more than 2 decades. Responsible for religious affairs in the region until 1994, Mr. Cohen watched the Islamist movement take shape, muscle aside secular Palestinian rivals, and then morph into what is today Hamas, a militant group that is sworn to Israel's destruction. Now, the point is that, if you're on the receiving end of these atrocities being imposed upon you by Netanyahu and his regime, well, yeah, I would think that people being subjected to that would fight tooth and nail with everything they have to stop it, to stop their children from being shredded and their parents from being murdered, and from their pregnant wives being sniped. I saw a T-shirt, of a pregnant woman with crosshairs on her, and underneath it said, 1 shot, 2 kills. This is how callous these people are. And this is not, again, this is not all Jews. This is not all of them. But if you were listening carefully and you heard that audio clip I just played a couple of minutes ago with Jacob Rothschild, he was basically saying that they were Eastern European descent. And that goes right along with the John Hopkins genetic study. It was published in the Jerusalem Post, showing that 80% of the Palestinians are the Semites. They have indigenous blood. They've been there for thousands of years. However, the Israelis, 97.5% are from Eastern Europe or North America. In other words, they're imposters. Anyway, okay, I wanted to share that with you. And as far as this thing about Zionism, there are so many people in this country. I mean, President Biden openly admitted, here he is.
And my father pointed out to me, I did not need to be a Jew to be a Zionist, for I am.
Yeah. And what else did he say? Well, let's see. Here it is.
You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist.
So how many other folks out there, and a lot of you Christian Zionists out there, you got to be scratching your head saying, wait a second, what am I signed up here for? Do you understand what Zionism is? And again, I refer to the Balfour Declaration. They wanted to establish a Jewish Zionist state of Israel. Zionism means one group of people lives there and nobody else. Nobody else. You apply that to the United States. What if we had the Zionist United States of America and we took California and said that is for the Catholics? If you're Catholic, you get to move to California. And if you're not Catholic and you're in California, you have to leave. And you have to leave everything you own behind and let the Catholics have it. And if you don't like that, they get to kill you. Okay? So that would be the Zionist state of California. Let's do the same thing with the Zionist state of Oregon. Okay? If you're a Protestant, you get to move to Oregon. If you're not Protestant and you're in Oregon, you got to leave and leave everything behind. And then that would become the Zionist state of Oregon. New York, you could be the Zionist LGBTQ state of New York. Okay, you see how that works? So that's what Zionism is, folks. And I know a lot of folks are scratching their head and saying, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. Well, that's because it's not right. Okay? In the meantime, the International Criminal Court, of course, is looking at Israel and saying, hey, you guys are crazy. And God forbid anybody should mount an attack against Israel. Well, first off, let's hear what the International Criminal Court had to say. Here they are.
This is a watershed moment for Palestine, for justice and for international law. Israel's occupation has been declared unlawful by the World Court, which has stipulated that it must be terminated completely and as rapidly as possible. The court also found that illegal Israeli occupation violates the UN Charter, human rights and international humanitarian law. The court further unequivocally declared that all Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territory are illegal and must be dismantled, and that all Israeli settlers must be evacuated. The court declared that Israeli illegal occupation not only violates but eviscerates the Palestinian people's right to self-determination in their own land, including the right to their own state. This ruling couldn't be more timely or sorely needed. The Palestinian people have endured unbearable suffering and injustice for decades. This ruling is a vindication of their steadfastness and perseverance. This right must no longer be denied or deferred. The court made clear that the Palestinian people are the only sovereign in the occupied Palestinian territory.
Bingo.
Including East Jerusalem, and that the international community is under an obligation not just to reaffirm the Palestinian people's right to self-determination, but to see to it that this right is implemented immediately. All states and the UN are now under obligation not to recognize the legality of Israel's presence in the occupied Palestinian territory.
All right. Let's see. It's coming up on 36 minutes past the hour. I'm going to take a quick promotional break here. I'll be back in just a minute here. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get More Tank if you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Don't forget the word the, T-H-E, TheWTFReports.com. Visit our sponsors page, and you can get More Tank. And you'll be glad that you did. I've been using it now for, 9 months? I don't know. I started off last spring. First thing I noticed is that when I hit my gas, my car started to jump. And I said, that's interesting. And after a couple of tanks, I noticed I was getting about 15, 16 more miles per gallon. 15% to 16%. And it, of course, depends on how you drive, round town versus on the highway. But depending upon what your make and model of car is and how you drive, you're going to save money. So it's only going to cost you $20 when you use the promo code REDPILL101. You'll get 5 tablets, and I guarantee you by the time you get to the end of the 5th tablet, 1 tablet per tank, you're going to notice a big difference in your car or your truck or your riding lawnmower or your chainsaw or your diesel engine, whatever. It's going to help. So go to TheWTFReports.com and visit the sponsors page and get More Tank. All right, that said, coming up on, just about 21 minutes before the hour, I'm going to open up the phone lines. I do have a couple of other clips here I want to share with you. But the phone number here, if you want to join the conversation, please do so. Area code 215-867-8255. That's 215-867-8255. Okay. Well, the topic of discussion today is we're trying to separate what Zionism is, because Zionism, again, established back in the late 1800s, 1894, I think it was, by Theodor Herzl, who, by the way, Mr. Herzl was an atheist. He didn't believe in God. Zionism has nothing to do with the belief with a religion. It is a political dogma. And I find it rather curious that the guy who created or is credited for establishing Zionism was an atheist. Doesn't believe in God. And so if you're a Zionist, I have to assume that you don't believe in God. So how's that work out for you Zionist Christians out there? Do you understand how badly we've all been deceived? I mean, everything is upside down. The Israelis claim that they're God's chosen people. How different is that from Adolf Hitler saying, "Sie are the master race"? It's the same thing. The only difference is, they said, that Hitler used gas chambers, okay? Well, Israelis are using bombs. The result's the same. You're just killing lots and lots and lots and lots of people. But anyway, this whole thing about Zionism, it's going to come back and bite everybody in the butt. I thoroughly believe that. But I will tell you that the Israelis, if you don't like it their way, they're going to make sure that nobody has it their way. I mean, anybody else's way. Do you know what the Samson option is? Israel does have nuclear weapons. They got a bunch of them. And if they feel like they're going to be threatened, they will turn loose all of those nukes. They'll destroy the entire world if they can't have it their way. Here's Ken O'Keefe, and he's basically explaining what the Samson option is.
The biggest threat that we face is not Iran and its mythical nuclear weapons program. It is Israel and its 200 to 400 nuclear weapons and the Samson option. And if you're not aware of what the Samson option is, Israel says that if its existence is threatened, that it will, quote, destroy the world with its nukes. There are many high-level Talmudic Jewish supremacist thinkers in Israel who are ready to launch nukes and destroy Europe and the rest of the world if indeed they feel their existence is threatened. And make no mistake about it, Israel is living on borrowed time. So is Israel going to exercise the Samson option and blow up the world because the world refuses to accept this psychopathic criminal state and all of the danger it poses to the world? No, it's not North Korea, it's not Syria, it's not Iran, it's Israel and the traitors inside the United States that are the real threat.
There you go. That's Ken O'Keefe. And that's basically what this Samson option is. Now, if you don't like what the Israelis are doing, well, I don't know how we're going to basically purge this mentality. I don't know what it is about Trump and his administration. What is it that Israel is holding over Donald Trump and his cabinet? What is it that they're holding over Dan Bongino? What is it that they're holding over Tim Pool? Over all these other influencers, political figures? And why is it that anybody who dares to draw attention to the atrocities being committed by the Israeli regime, Netanyahu and his ilk, you're going to immediately be labeled as an anti-Semite? And now they're talking about being able to arrest and deport you, even if you're an American citizen, if you dare criticize Israel. We're living in some strange times, but you know what? The world, like Abby Martin, I played the clip a couple minutes ago, the world is waking up. They are starting to understand it. And even, rabbis, they're coming flat out and basically confirming what a lot of people have been thinking and saying. And I hate to say this, a lot of you folks are going to have a knee-jerk on this one, but you may have heard that AI has taken the old audios of Adolf Hitler's speeches and translated them into English in Adolf Hitler's voice. If you've listened to any of those speeches, your jaw just might drop. And some of the stuff that Adolf Hitler was drawing attention to is being confirmed by Jewish rabbis. Okay, listen to this one rabbi. Unfortunately, I don't have his name, but this is why. Well, just listen to it. You'll figure it out.
When God gave us the Torah, the Gentiles were jealous of us. They feel that we think we're elitist. We think we're the chosen people, which, by the way, we are. We do think we're elitist. We are the chosen people. They think that we think only we are the children of God, and we do think that.
Okay, that means that's sort of like Hitler saying we are the master race, yeah? Okay, let's listen up.
We're not embarrassed to say, only the Jewish people are the children of God. The nations of the world are not the children of God. They're not God's children. They're God's creations. They're created with Tselem Elokim. They're not God's children. And this creates a certain jealousy, and they don't like that. In other words, there's an ethnical reason. They feel that we are elitist, we think of ourselves as better than them, which we do. And therefore, they hate us. What can we do? God selected us, Yeah, good. God selected us. So these are the two reasons for anti-Semitism. One is what Rashi says. Rashi says, Amar Rav Shimon Echai, Halacha hi b'yadua, Se'esav Sainei liYaakov, that what's the reason for it? There's no reason. It's just, it is. God, the reason for anti-Semitism, according to Rashi, is that it's just a law. It's a law of nature. There's gravity, and there's, the theory of relativity, and then there's anti-Semitism. And then on the other hand, you have this Gemara in Shabbos that the Gentiles hate us for, they feel that we think of ourselves as better. When God gave...
Yeah. That's basically, he's just admitting it. This is what they believe. They believe that they are God's chosen people, and if you're not with them, if you're not one of them, then you are Goyim, or Goyim, Amalek. You are subhuman. You are not on the same level as they are. They believe that one Jew is even worth more than 1,000 righteous Goy. This is their attitude. And again, this is why I started off today's broadcast as saying it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what I think. What matters is what they think. And you're hearing exactly what they think. Now, if you're okay with that, well, then God bless you. Okay? But I'm not okay with that. Anyway, going to take a little musical break here. And again, if you want to join the conversation, if I'm out to lunch, if I'm wrong, if I'm, if I'm full of crap, well, then call me up. Tell me so. 215-867-8255.
And the big band swings. Recent victory from the big one rings in the front of everybody's minds. Revving up the post-war boom, blushing brides and eager grooms, hula hoops, roller skates, all is well in these United States. Playing with my rabbit ears and black and white TV. But now we channel surf and pay the cable company. Are things freer in America today than they were just 40 years ago? Elvis Presley swings his hips, Marilyn puckers up her lips. All is well in Camelot. Cleavers Nelson's apple pie, rockets shoot into the sky. Missile crisis, Vietnam, Agent Orange, Peter Pan. People taking interest, pushing for a change. But take a stand today and folks say you're deranged, yeah. Are we freer in America today than we were just 40 years ago?
Rockefeller, Chicago, UN communist world control, Morgan, Rothschild, World War II, got a little plan for you, a new world order, that's the plan. Every woman, child and man, Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, Jew, does like they are told to do.
Working hard to get my pay, quitting time another day. The big game's on and then the fight. Let's see what's on the news tonight. A big election, what's my choice? Doesn't matter, I'm just one voice. So much corruption, nothing's fair. They won't change, why should I care? I'm just hanging on, look out for number one. And on the weekend maybe I can have some fun, yeah. Are things freer in America today than they were a couple years ago?
Broadcast stations we control, induced complacency to go. Let people think that they are free. Distractions broadcast on TV. Our influence in Washington make people do what we want done. Eventually, when we are through, they'll do just what we tell them to. would tattoo. Today we have technology, and we've convinced them all to be submissive to their leadership and all receive a biochip.
Are we freer in America today than we were a couple years ago? Are we freer in America today than we were just 40 years ago? Are we freer in America today than we were 200 years ago?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Everybody, everywhere, sit back, relax, and get ready for the glorious dawning of a new world order. There's nothing that you have to do. We have everything under control. Just watch your TV, and we'll tell you what you need to know. There's not much, I promise. Pretty soon you'll have your very own biochip. Imagine, no more tax forms, no more medical records, no more bank books or paychecks, no more cares or worries. We've done it all just for you. With years of testing and research, we finally have all the answers, and we know what's best for all mankind. Simply follow directions given to you by your friendly local officials. They can guide you through the transition stage, and after you've complied with the basic introduction...
Yeah, trapdoor that guy. Anyway, yeah, that's a song wrote about 20 years ago. And, yeah, it's happening now. It really is. Anyway, in review in today's broadcast, of course, we're talking about genetics. We're talking about certain intellectual or mental attributes that get passed on from one generation to another, especially when you're inbred, and you're also raised in an environment that teaches that you are supreme and that you are above all others. You know, and I mean, it's not just one family. It's not just the Rothschilds, folks. There are many different families that subscribe to this. And I used the analogy a while back about, superheroes. You know, superheroes have supervillains that they have to go against. You know, Superman had Lex Luthor. Remember that? And, of course, Batman, he had a bunch of them. He had the Penguin, and he had the Riddler, and he had the Joker, you know. And then the Spider-Man has Doc Ock and the Goblin and the Sandman. And, of course, that's all make pretend. There's no such thing as supervillains. Are there? Are there? I contend that there are. There are many supervillains. There's a legion of them. You know, I mean, you got, the likes of Bill Gates, George Soros, Klaus Schwab, and, of course, the unnamed European families that go back for generations and generations and generations. And they are all, yes, involved in making sure that they don't marry outside of the family to keep the fortunes intact. So, I mean, you apply this to what's going on today, and it's not hard to understand how and why we ended up in the situation that we're in right now. Okay, we've got this Zionist state of Israel, and the Israelis, basically, they've all been brainwashed into thinking that, yes, they are the chosen ones. They are God's chosen people. They believe this. And again, it's not what you believe. It's not what I believe. It's what they believe. And when you've got an entire group of people that believe that, well, this is why this is such a difficult thing. And I got to tell you, they are sly. They are brilliant in how they massage information. They've been doing it for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, I think I played that clip. I have another clip here. No, I don't. I thought I did anyway. Okay, yeah, there is. Oh, yeah, here it is. This is another clip here of another rabbi basically saying the same thing. Let's see if this is the clip that I was thinking of here.
Who knows the first two laws that Hitler implemented? Who knows the first two laws?
Listen to this.
Before the Nuremberg laws. Before that, we're talking about years before it. Hitler first comes into power. What's the first two laws? Okay, I'll save you the time. Rule number 1. No more pornography. No more homosexuality. None of that garbage. Not allowed. Berlin, in the 30s, in the 20s, was the Sodom and Gomorrah of the day.
Okay, I'm pausing it right there. Remember the musical Cabaret? Come to the cabaret, old chum. Okay, that was all the gays and the transvestites and all that other stuff. And this is what he was talking about. Because Berlin had indeed become a den of iniquity. Pedophilia, pornography, child sexual exploitation. As a matter of fact, that's where the transgender thing started. Okay, we continue.
Homosexuality, pornography, all the bestiality, all the garbage of the world, that was the capital of the world. He outlawed it. You're no longer allowed, closed all the bars, all the gay clubs, all the production, which were all run by Jewish people. Unfortunately. Second rule, you're not allowed to charge interest. No more interest. Now you would think, why? What does he care about interest? Well, because all the people that had the money, that lent the money out, were Jews. So he said no more interest. Why? Because of the high interest that the Jews charged people was so high, it ruined, it destroyed the economy in Germany. They destroyed, just like they destroyed Russia a few years before that through their communism over there. Jews destroyed Russia, not Goyim. Jews destroyed. Communism is by Jews. Well, don't let anybody confuse you. You look at history, Karl Marx, all the other Reshaim, they're all Jews. Wicked, but nonetheless Jews. They destroyed Russia, and he wrote in chapter 2 of Mein Kampf, they destroyed Russia, now they're destroying Germany. Go to the store to buy bread, you had to take a whole horse carriage full of money. By the time you arrive at the store, it wasn't enough. Why? Because the inflation rate was so high. The bread became so much more valuable and your money went down. And at that time, the Great Depression was happening around the entire world. Everyone was in a financial collapse. America was a financial collapse. England was a financial collapse. Germany collapsed worse than everybody else. But after he passed this law, within 6 years, Germany became the leading, wealthiest economy in the world. They called it a financial miracle. Why? They were the only ones that were bold enough to stop interest. This is one of the biggest reasons of why he hated Jews. Because they destroyed the economy, because of their greed. This is happening again.
Yes, it is. And I was amazed when I found that audio clip of that rabbi basically putting out the truth and what happened. And when you take a look at what happened then, and you take a look at what's happening now, and you take a look at how much support the Zionists have in our government, I don't know. I certainly hope it's a situation where, you hold your friends close, but you hold your enemies closer. I don't know if that's being applied right now. I certainly hope it is. But we are living in interesting times, folks. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. And if you are, please share and like. If you're listening on Rumble, subscribe, please. Share it and subscribe, etc., etc. You know how it works. Rumble, BitChute, YouTube. We're on Spotify. So please, spread the word. Get the WTF reports into everybody's ear and support this broadcast by supporting our sponsors. That said, folks, that's going to wrap it up for today's Wednesday edition of the WTF Reports. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoy bringing it to you. Anyway, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and I'll see you tomorrow.